Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dan Garodnick, Chair of the City Planning Commission and Director of the Department of City Planning. Happy New Year, and welcome to today's review session of the City Planning Commission. We are joined today by Vice Chair Knuckles, Commissioners Benjamin, Cerullo, Dweck, Kermani, Mann, Marin on Zoom, Osorio, and Rampersad on Zoom in a moment. And before we dive into today's agenda, I just want to very quickly share some recent Department of City Planning related announcements from the end of last year. New York City's industrial sector, as you all know, provides important business and job opportunities and helps keep the 5 boroughs moving. But our support for the sector has not kept pace with 21st century challenges. And that's why we released the New York City Industrial Plan, a first of its kind roadmap to help businesses, workers, and surrounding communities all succeed in a modern economy. The report provides recommendations on helping industrial businesses modernize, supporting modern freight movements, preparing industrial areas for climate threats, and more. It also put forth a balanced and coherent land use strategy for industrial areas. With this work, we've laid out a thorough vision of how our industrial sector can continue to succeed for decades to come, and I want to thank our partner agencies, the City Council advocates from across the city for their partnership on this plan. We also recently released the Manhattan Plan, a set of strategies to tackle Manhattan's deep housing shortage by adding 100,000 new homes to the borough over the next decade. The plan lays out key strategic priorities for creating new housing in Manhattan, including adding more homes close to transit in areas that restrict new housing today, redeveloping city-owned sites, facilitating office to residential conversions, implementing regulatory improvements, and more. For generations, Manhattan was the place where people of all backgrounds could start their journey and find new opportunities. Thanks to robust public participation and with great ideas from New Yorkers across the borough and the city that are outlined in the report, we can make sure that the borough embraces that role once again. I would also like to take a moment to congratulate our new mayor, Zoran Mamdani, for his recent inauguration. During his campaign last year, the mayor was heavily focused on affordability, including the need for new housing, so I expect we will see plenty to do at the commission. I'd also like to extend my congratulations to his deputy mayor for housing and planning, City Planning Commission alumna, Layla Bozorg. Layla is an impressive and dedicated public servant and an excellent pick for this role, so congratulations to Layla. And let's turn to today's agenda. We will kick off our meeting and the new year with 3 proposals in Queens. First, a mixed-use building at 14714 Northern Boulevard in Flushing. This project includes nearly 400 new homes, of which almost 100 would be income-restricted affordable, as well as ground-floor retail and community facility space. The development would be a half-mile north of Flushing Town Hall and downtown Flushing. From there, we'll turn to a mixed-use building at 7541 164th Street in Hillcrest. This development would create 80 new homes, nearly 25 of them income-restricted affordable, as well as community facility space close to the Q65 bus stop and Playground 75. Heading to Manhattan, the Commission will next review a special permit renewal for 110 East 16th Street, previously approved by the Commission in 2018 and first renewed in 2022. This permit will enable the transfer of development rights to replace a parking garage with a new mixed-use building with between 40 and 55 new homes. The developer is also committed to the long-term maintenance of a city landmark, the former Century Association building. We'll then head to Riverdale in the Bronx for a special permit renewal for the Hebrew Home for the Aged. This facility, which was approved by the City Planning Commission in 2018, would be the city's first continuing care retirement community and contain over 750 skilled nursing facility beds, as well as nearly 400 apartments for older adults. This is the applicant's team's second special permit renewal, following the one that was granted by the Commission in the fall of 2024. The Commission will also hear a presentation from the Landmarks Preservation Commission on the proposed Ditmas Park West and Beverly Square West historic districts, both located in Brooklyn. So we're starting off the year strong. Madam Secretary, let me turn to you and let's get going.
And just noting that Commissioners Gold and Crowell are also on Zoom.
Great, thank you.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the City Planning Commission review session for Monday, January 5th, 2026. The time is 1:06 and a quorum is present. The first item on our agenda is a certification of zoning map and zoning text amendments in Queens Community District 7, and our presenter is Joy Chen.
Hello, Joy.
It's a little bit exciting to be sharing this proposal, the first item on the agenda today for New Year's, 14714 Northern Boulevard rezoning. This is a private application in the Flushing neighborhood of Queens Community District 7. The applicant is proposing a zoning map change from an R5 C12 district to an R5 district and an R5 C12 district to an R7X C23 district, as well as a zoning text amendment to map a mandatory inclusionary housing area. Here's a view of what the potential building could look like at the northeast corner at Northern Boulevard. The proposed actions would facilitate the development of this new 11-story mixed-use building, which would be composed of two primary portions, Building A and Building B. The total building would include 334,285 square feet of floor area, a 6 FAR. It would have 389 dwelling units, and 97 would be income restricted. There would also be ground floor commercial floor area, as well as community facility use and parking located in the cellar and basement level, as well as ground floor level. The building would rise to a maximum height of 125 feet with setbacks at the 5th and 6th floors. And it should be noted that the site experiences a small change in grade between 149th Street and 147th Street. As such, the ground floor is classified as a basement floor with the area counting toward floor area. This is an aerial view of the project area in Flushing between downtown Flushing and Murray Hill. The project area outlined in the yellow with the dashed lines is located on Northern Boulevard, which is a major east-west arterial thoroughfare, which spans Long Island City to the west to the Nassau County to the east. While the boulevard varies in character throughout, this portion in particular of Northern Boulevard is primarily built up with local retail and commercial uses, as well as medium-density residential buildings. The project area is located in the outer transit zone. The closest train is the LIRR Murray Hill station 3 blocks away. There are also numerous buses that run up and down Northern Boulevard with a stop directly in front of the development site, and that would provide access from Fort Totten and Bayside to the north and downtown Flushing and Main Street number 7 trains to the south. This shows the local context, the development site comprising of 5 tax lots along Northern Boulevard, consisting of the entire southern side of Northern Boulevard between 147th Street and 149th Street at a depth of approximately 100 feet. Both Northern Boulevard and 149th Street are classified as wide streets. The development site is currently occupied by a series of single-story retail buildings, and you'll see a gas station. There's also a bank, a realtor's office, a massage parlor, restaurants, adult daycare, bookstores, a multitude of local retail uses. This, the area map shows the existing zoning and land use. It was mapped, this project area was mapped with an R5 C12 district in 1961, and it has not changed since that time. The area on the north side of Northern Boulevard is zoned R71. The area immediately to the west across 147th Street is zoned R6 C12, and the area immediately to the east is zoned R6A C22. Recent as-of-right development along this portion of Northern Boulevard include several 7 to 12-story mixed-use buildings. Approximately half a mile to the west, or 3 blocks, is the commercial core of downtown Flushing, which has a high concentration of high-rise commercial, mixed-use, and residential buildings. Blocks immediately to the north and south of the project area also developed with apartment buildings ranging from 6 to 13 stories. The tax map shows the project area consisting of Block 5016, lots 18, 27, 33, 39, 47, as well as portions of lots 7 and 11. The development site is coterminous with the project area and contains approximately 55,735 square feet of lot area. These photos show the site, and you can see the development site to the left with the single-story retail buildings, and just how wide Northern Boulevard is, facing west from 149th Street. Again, showing the existing context here, facing south from Northern Boulevard. And then here's a view of the development site to the right, and Northern Boulevard facing east from 147th Street. This illustrative site plan is designed in such a way that the massing is broken up into 2 buildings. Northern Boulevard is very long, so you have Building A closest to 147th Street and Building B closer to the 149th Street end. The arrows indicate the access to various uses. So the red arrows indicate access to the ground floor commercial spaces from Northern Boulevard, which is the main commercial, corridor in this area, as well as access to the community facility space. Access to the residential spaces and to the parking. So the yellow is for residential use, and the gray is for access to parking, is along both ends of the building at 147th Street and 149th Street. And there are 2 curb cuts that are 22 feet wide on both street ends. This illustrative site plan shows the first floor plan. There and the parking spaces, 52 parking spaces provided on the first floor, Building A, and 54 parking spaces provided for Building B. The proposed 389 dwelling units would be located on floors 1 through 11. Of the total 389 units, 97 are proposed as income restricted under MIH. The residential units would comprise a mix of studio, 1 and 2 bedroom units. The schematic section also just illustrates the range of uses. This is a section taken from Northern Boulevard of the entire building, showing the parking and commercial retail uses at the cellar and ground floor levels, and residential apartments from the first floor to the 11th floor. The proposed zoning map amendment would amend portions of an R5 C12 district to an R7X C23 district. The new R7X C23 district would be mapped at 100 feet in depth from Northern Boulevard on Block 5016 and would encompass the development site. In addition, the area beyond 100 feet that is currently zoned R5 C12 would be amended to R5, thereby removing the remainder of the C12 overlay and preventing commercial encroachment on the residential side street. The proposed R7X C23 district is a mixed-use district intended for wide streets and in relative proximity to transit. The district typically results in mid-rise buildings ranging between 11 and 14 stories and permits a maximum FAR of 6 under MIH. The district permits a street wall height of 60 feet to 105 feet and a maximum building height of 145 feet. The maximum FAR for commercial uses is 2. Parking varies by use for commercial uses, with general retail typically requiring 1 space per 400 square feet. 15% of dwelling units require parking, and the requirement is waived for affordable units in the outer transit zone. The proposed zoning text amendment would make the project area applicable to the MIH program. The MIH area would be mapped under options 1 and 2. 97 income restricted units are proposed, averaging 60% AMI, which would comply with option 1 of the MIH program. And then slide 17 shows data from the applicant's racial equity report, which is required because this project would increase the residential floor area by at least 50,000 square feet. The AMI for Community District 7 is approximately 62,022, which is lower than Queens and New York City area median incomes. The applicant proposes to provide 41 units at 40% AMI, 32 units at 60% AMI, and 24 units at 80% AMI, with estimated monthly rents ranging from $1,090 for studios to $2,800 for 2-bedroom units, at estimated average incomes ranging from $45,400 for a 1-person household to $129,600 for a 4-person household. Of the approximately 270,930 residents within this area of Community District 7, 57% identified as Asian non-Hispanic, 2% identified as Black non-Hispanic, 18% identified as Hispanic, and 21% identified as white non-Hispanic. Between 2010 and 2020, the area saw a 9% increase in total population, and the percent increase in housing population was lower than that. The percent increase in total population included increases in the Asian non-Hispanic and Hispanic population, and decreases in the Black and white non-Hispanic and white population. In summary, the proposed action of a zoning map change from an R5 C12 district to an R7X C23 district with MIH would facilitate a new mid-rise mixed-use development with 389 new dwelling units, including 97 income-restricted units, as well as approximately 35,000 square feet of neighborhood retail space and over 10,000 square feet devoted to a community facility use. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Excellent. Thank you. As you correctly pointed out, that is going to set the whole tone for the entire calendar year. So well done. Congratulations. Let me see if there are questions for you, starting with Commissioner Osorio, Commissioner Kermani.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for the presentation. I just had a quick question. I didn't see any information on the proposed sustainability measures in the package. I'm wondering if you can share a little bit more with us now or later as a follow-up.
I don't have particular details to call out about the sustainability measures, but that is definitely something I can get more information on and share with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Kermani.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. Also curious about the bedroom size mix. I didn't see it in the packet or on the chart.
Yeah, I can also get that information. I don't have it in front of me right now.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
Thank you. Joy, just remind me, post City of Yes, what are the parking, or did City of Yes impact the parking requirements in this community board?
Yeah, that's a great question. City of Yes did impact the parking requirements, it lowered the parking requirements here, but this is, and it also designated this area as being in the outer transit zone. They are only required by, the new rules to provide 147 spaces, but the applicants are providing much higher, 280 parking spaces, even though they're going beyond the requirement. They're explaining that the additional parking spaces are reserved spaces for residents and visitors, as well as for the commercial uses. There are a number of, local retail uses that will probably attract drivers and other people living from outside the area. But yeah.
And do you know, what kind of community facility, what, if any, community facility use is identified at this point?
They didn't specify right now what type of community facility use, but, you know, as the program develops, we can also, you know, I'll definitely ask them and see what they have in mind.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Commissioner Benjamin?
I just wanted to respond to Commissioner Kremani. There are scheduled to be 26 studios, 43 one-bedrooms, and 28 two-bedrooms in the, what, excuse me? For the MIH, the affordable apartments.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Benjamin. Okay, other questions, comments? Okay, thanks, Joy. This item's certified.
Thank you.
Thank you for kicking it off. All right, let's move on to item 2.
The second item on our agenda is a certification of zoning map and zoning text amendments in Queens, Community District 8, and our presenter is Kari Bailey.
Hi, Kari.
So, good afternoon, Commissioners and Chair Grodnick. So this is, I'm here to present 164th Street rezoning. It's a private application by 8866 Myrtle Avenue LLC in the Hillcrest neighborhood of Queens Community District 8 for a property that's located at 7541 164th Street. The applicant is proposing a zoning map amendment to change an R32 district to an R6A district with a C2 for commercial overlay, and a zoning text amendment to map mandatory inclusionary housing. These actions would facilitate a new 6-story mixed-use building totaling approximately 91,000 square feet at an FAR of 3.9. The building would include approximately 74,000 square feet of residential, including 80 dwelling units, 24 which would be income restricted, and approximately 18,000 square feet of community facility space on the ground floor. There would also be 28 cellar-level parking spaces that would be accessed by a curb cut on 164th Street. So this is the surrounding area, and the project here is noted in red. It's located in the Hillcrest neighborhood, which is just west of Fresh Meadows and north of Jamaica Estates. 164th Street is a wide, expansive corridor that runs north to south in this parts of Queens, and 164th Street measures 120 wide. Notable uses in the surrounding area include the St. John's University campus, which is located approximately 0.3 miles to the southeast of the project area, and Queens College, which is located approximately 1.5 miles northwest of the project area. There's also the NYCHA Pontotoc houses that's located just east of Queens College that I just mentioned, and the project area is located between 2 major regional parks, including Flushing Meadows Corona Park to the west and Cunningham Park to the east. This area is mostly served by local buses that provide service to Jamaica, Flushing, Forest Hills, as well as express buses to Manhattan. The Kew Gardens Union Turnpike subway station is the closest subway station to the project area, which is almost 2 miles away, and it's marked on this map with the F and E lines. So the project area was mapped in R3-2 zoning district in 1961 and has not changed since. The area is primarily developed with 1- and 2-family residential buildings within the R3-2 and R2 districts and community facility uses. There's C2-2 commercial overlays. They're mapped throughout 164th Street, and you can see there's 2 blocks south of the project area, which is developed with mostly 1- and 2-story commercial buildings. And you can see in this map that a few blocks north of the development site is an R6 zoning district. There's been no recent land use actions that have affected this rezoning area. The nearby Jamaica Hillcrest rezoning, which was effective in 2006 and was a city-sponsored rezoning of an approximately 70-block area located south of Union Turnpike, and more recently, a private application known as the Union Turnpike rezoning, which was effective in 2014. It changed an existing R3-2 C2 district to an R5D C1-3 zoning district, and that facilitated a new 4-story mixed-use resident commercial development, and that's approximately 0.3 miles to the southwest of the project area. So this is the tax map that shows the rezoning area outlined with the dotted black line, and the development site is outlined in red. The project area consists of 6 tax lots on block 6967, which includes 4 lots that are owned and operated by the applicant. That's consisted of the development site. And the project area includes slivers of lot 5 and lot 23 that are not owned by the applicant. So zooming in closer to the development site, this photo shows the existing uses within the project area looking east. Here you can see the wide expanse of 164th Street, which spans 6 lanes. And the development site is outlined in yellow. It includes 4 tax lots that are to be merged. Lot 1 consists of a laundromat. Lot 30 consists of an open storage for a landscaping company. And lot 28 consists of a daycare that has since been vacated. And lot 25 consists of a 2-story single-family home. According to the applicant, the daycare has been operating out of alternative sites, and they plan on returning as part of the new development. So here you can see what the site looks on the street level. This is a view of the development site facing southeast from 164th Street. Next, this is a view of the development site facing southeast from 75th Road. And moving to the other side of the development site, this is a view facing northeast from 164th Street. This is where the now vacant daycare building is. And lastly, this is a view from 76th Avenue facing west with the development site to the right, and you can see this is the back of the former daycare. So the proposed actions would facilitate a new 6-story mixed-use building with MIH maximum height of 95 feet and approximately 80 dwelling units, 24 which would be permanently income restricted. Additionally, the ground floor would include approximately 17,627 square feet of community facility, which is to be occupied by that daycare that formerly operated within the project area. And there would be 28 parking spaces provided in the cellar. This is a site plan of the first floor, which would be occupied by the daycare, and this community facility would be accessed from 164th Street. The entrance to the residential lobby would be located on 76th Avenue, and a new 12-foot wide curb cut on 76th Avenue would provide access via the ramp highlighted in green to the 28 parking spaces in the cellar. And in this section, you can see that the cellar is in green. It would have some space for community facility use, parking, and storage. And the community facility space, the proposed daycare, is on most of the first floor, with the rest above being residential. The base height is 45 feet, or 4 stories, with the proposed development rising to a height of 65 feet, or 6 stories. There would be 15-foot setbacks above the 4th floor base height, which would be provided on 75th Road and 76th Avenue on those street frontages. So there would be open space for residents that would be provided in the rear yard equivalent and on the building rooftop. So the applicant proposes a zoning map amendment to change an R3-2 district to an R6A district with a C2 for commercial overlay. And this is indicated by the dotted black line on the image to the right. The project area, moving on. So the existing R3-2 residential district has a maximum FAR of 0.75. The proposed R6A is a medium density contextual residential zoning district that typically produces a high lot coverage and a 6 to 8 story apartment buildings that are set at or near the street line. R6A districts allow a maximum FAR of 3.9 with MIH and a maximum building height of 95 feet. According to the applicant, this rezoning is appropriate because the site is located on a wide street with access to transit, and while the rezoning area's existing R3-2 zoning permits multifamily housing, it has a low maximum residential FAR of 0.75 that limits the potential for new housing development. The applicant is proposing a zoning text amendment to map mandatory inclusionary options 1 and 2, and option 1 requires 25% of dwelling units to be income restricted at an average of 60% AMI, and option 2 requires 30% of dwelling units to be income restricted at an average of 80% AMI. And this application requires a racial equity report because it would increase the residential FAR by at least 50,000 square feet. The annual median income of Queens Community District 8 is approximately $84,217, which is slightly lower but almost equal to the annual median income of the borough of Queens, and it's higher than New York City overall. The applicant is proposing to provide 24 income restricted units across a range of 60 to 100% AMI, with estimated rents ranging from $170,000 for a studio to $3,650 for 2-bedroom units. The estimated average income for households earning between 60 and 100 AMI range from $68,000 for a 1-person household up to $162,000 for a 4-person household. Of the approximately 157,989 residents within Queens Community District 8, 37% identify as Asian, 12% identify as Black, 18% identify as Hispanic, and 28% identify as white. Between 2010 and 2020, the area saw a 7% increase in total population. This increase was seen across Asian and Hispanic population groups, with the highest increase in the Asian population at 29%. This community district also saw decreases in the white population by 16% and decreases in the Black population by 2%. So in conclusion, this applicant proposes a zoning map amendment to change an R3-2 to an R6A district with a C2-4 commercial overlay and a zoning text amendment to map mandatory inclusionary housing area. This would facilitate the development of a 6-story mixed-use building with 80 units, 24 which would be made permanently affordable. Thank you. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you very much. Let me just pose one general question for you about the R6A. Can you give us the best articulation for R6A here as opposed to any other potential zoning district?
So you're asking why an R6A here, or what would it change?
No, I see what it would change it from an R32 to an R6A. I'm really asking, why is R6A appropriate here?
The justification from the applicant is because it is on a wide street, and there has been similar building heights within a mile of the site. If you want to add anything.
Hi, good afternoon. Lucia Capuccio, I'm the Central Queens team lead. In addition to what Kari's saying, I think, this is an area where we haven't seen many rezonings, but I think the R6A provides, and the applicant believes the R6A provides like a moderate increase in density here. 164th Street is 120 feet wide. There's, within 6 blocks in either direction, there are 6-story buildings. They're proposing a 6-story development here and obviously planning to bring back the daycare that's currently there with a renewed, space. So we believe that the applicant's, vision for the R6A, is appropriate for this location. In addition, the CT4 zoning, although they're not currently proposing commercial, 164th has, neighborhood retail services, especially within a few blocks of this application. There's a veterinarian's office, there's nail salons. So, if they were to choose to have also commercial here, it would also be serving, the surrounding neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Osorio?
Thank you, Chair. Thanks so much for the presentation, and the material is very clear. Two quick questions. One is, can you clarify, and first of all, I'm excited to hear that there's a plan to relocate the childcare, but can you clarify how much of the 17.6 thousand square feet for community facility will be used for childcare, or what's the mix? What other uses are being proposed, sorry?
I believe that they are using the entirety of the community facility use.
But the current use is like around for childcare is around 3,000 square feet, right? They're proposing 17,000 plus?
Yes, so they would be getting more space.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a lot of locations across Queens and the community district.
Okay,
so
that's great. That's great. Thank you.
be able to
And then
expand.
the other question has to do with something that I thought it was interesting too. You mentioned that they're proposing open space through the rear yard equivalent and the rooftops. Can you clarify how much open space is that? And also whether there's what was the rationale, what was the discussion to comply with local laws 92 and 94 in terms of how much solar could be produced here versus green roofs, et cetera? Like where do we stand right now?
I do not have that information on hand, but I can look into it.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Commissioner. Okay, this item is now certified. Thank you, Kari. Let's move to 3.
The third item on our agenda is non-ULURP renewals of previously approved special permits in Manhattan Community District 5, and presenting for the first time to the Commission is Isaac Bravo.
Isaac, welcome. Glad you're here.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is a private application. Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is a private application by East 16th Street Owner LLC for the second renewal of 2 special permits that were first approved in 2018 and first renewed in 2022. The special permits were granted with a 4-year term that would lapse if substantial construction has not been completed on the development site, but the permits can be renewed for 2 additional 3-year terms for a total of 10 years. This would be the final renewal with substantial construction expected within the next 3 years. The renewal, the renewal of the special permits is pursuant to ZR Section 1143. There is one finding for the Commission to consider for this application, and that is that the Commission shall find that the facts upon which the special permits were granted have not substantially changed. In this case, the applicant is proposing no changes to the project since it was first approved or the last renewal, and it remains as originally considered by the Commission. The Department also reviewed the renewal application and agreed that there are no changes to the application. The development site is located on East 16th Street between Irving Place and Union Square East in a C6-2A zoning district and is currently occupied by a standalone 9-story public parking garage. The first special permit approved in 2018 is a landmark preservation special permit pursuant to ZR Section 74-711, which allowed the applicant to modify bulk regulations to facilitate the proposed development of a new mixed-use building on the site. In conjunction with the special permit, a continuing maintenance program was established for the landmarked former Century Association building, which is located at 109 East 15th Street on the same lot as the development site. The second special permit approved in 2018 is a ZR Section 13451 special permit to allow 18 accessory parking spaces within the proposed development. As construction of the proposed development had not yet commenced, the special permits would have lapsed in 2022. The Commission voted to renew the special permits for a 3-year term in October 2022. This application for a second and final renewal of these special permits was filed in September 2025 before the October 31st lapse date. If the special permits are renewed, they would expire on October 31st, 2028. This area map shows the development site outlined in purple and the project area outlined in blue. The project area is comprised of 3 tax lots with 100 feet of frontage on East 15th Street and 64 feet of frontage on East 16th Street. The zoning lot includes the development site, which is the existing garage, the Landmark Building, and the Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute. The area has a very mixed-use character with Union Square Park to the west of the project area, the 350-foot-tall Zeckendorf Towers across 15th Street in the mixed-use orange color, nearby public facilities shown in light blue, and the landmarked 26-story Con Edison building in the light purple utility color. And here is an aerial view showing you some additional context of the neighborhood and its proximity to 14th Street Union Square. You can see the development site outlined in purple and the overall project area outlined in blue. And this is a close-up of the merged zoning lot and 3 tax lots. The Landmark Building is outlined in orange. The Lot 12 building, which is the Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute, outlined in blue, and the proposed development site outlined in pink. And here are 2 views of the proposed development site from East 16th Street. Currently, there is a 9-story, 86-foot-tall public parking garage containing 196 parking spaces, which you can see outlined in pink. This existing structure is to be demolished to facilitate the construction of the proposed development. These are 2 views of the project area from East 15th Street. On both views, you can see the Landmark Building, which is the former Century Association building outlined in orange, and the adjacent Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute outlined in blue. This is a drawing of the proposed development in the context of the neighborhood. The 2 towers outlined on either side of the development are the Zeckendorf Towers, which are across 15th Street. The proposed development is a 283-foot, 21-story mixed-use residential building containing 40 to 55 residential units, commercial and community facility space, and up to 18 accessory parking spaces. In conjunction with the proposed development, the applicant and the owner of the Landmark Building would undertake a restoration of the exterior of the Landmark Building, including improvements to the building's facade and entrance. These improvements include the repair and replacement of various elements, such as the mansard roof, dormers, and entrance canopy. As part of the ZR Section 74-711 special permit, the applicant agreed that a continuing maintenance plan would be established to provide for periodic inspection and ensure ongoing maintenance of the Landmark Building. And the details of that plan are shown here. The requested and approved waivers include height, base height, and setback, which are shaded in red on this drawing. I'll note that while some of the relevant sections of the zoning resolution have been updated since the special permit was granted in 2018, any changes to the ZR, most notably the City of Yes for Housing Opportunity text amendment, are not applicable to this special permit. The C6-2A zoning district requires a maximum base height of 85 feet and a 15-foot setback from the street line on narrow streets with a total maximum building height of 120 feet. The proposed development would have a base height of 230 feet and a series of setbacks beginning at the 19th floor with a maximum building height of 283 feet. The applicant was also granted a waiver for the side yard. Although no side yards are required in this zoning district, any open area provided along a side lot line is required to be at least 8 feet wide. Since the proposed development would be built to the lot line, and then begin a series of setbacks above the base height that would be less than 8 feet, a waiver for the side yards was granted. Now moving on to the second special permit, the parking facility would be located within the proposed development and would include 18 accessory parking spaces. The applicable zoning resolution provisions for the Manhattan Core limit residential developments in community districts 1 to 6 to accessory parking spaces totaling no more than 20% of the total number of dwelling units. Based on those provisions, the applicant was permitted 8 to 11 parking spaces as of right. The applicant was granted a special permit for up to 18 accessory parking spaces. This drawing shows the proposed driveway and automated parking and loading areas shaded in red. The proposed curb cut is located directly adjacent to the driveway on East 16th Street. The parking spaces would be all located below grade. On December 11th, Community Board 5's resolution recommended approval of both permits by a vote of 28 in favor, 0 against, and 1 abstention. In their resolution, the Community Board recognized the importance of moving long-stalled housing sites toward construction, noting the site has remained dormant for many years. The Community Board also recognized ongoing concerns about the bulk of the proposed project and urged the applicant to explore opportunities to add affordable housing or other community benefiting commitments as the project advances toward construction. In summary, pursuant to ZR Section 1143, the applicant is seeking their second and final renewal of 2 special permits that were first approved on October 31st, 2018. The Commission can renew the special permits for an additional 3-year term if they find that the facts upon which the special permit was granted have not substantially changed. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, great, thank you. So, second renewal of the 2 special permits, and the standard for us is have the facts upon which the special permits were granted substantially changed, correct?
Yes, that is
okay,
correct.
Great, thank you. Let me see if there are questions. Commissioner Goodrich.
My question is about the, I just have a quick clarification on zoning. Is it that there still need to be parking spaces for this particular zoning? I'm just curious as to, the building was for public parking, right? And so now there's going to be, and is the mixed use that it has to be both parking, accessory parking, and residential? Or, I'm just curious why we need parking.
I'm not sure about that, but I'll get back to you on that.
Hi, Commissioners. Abby Ryder, I'm the Westside team leader. Just building on Isaac's point, this is located in the Manhattan Core, so parking is not required for residential use. The applicant they're allowed in this area for up to 20% accessory uses or spaces for those residential units, and their special permit sought additional spaces beyond that what was granted. They were approved in the end 18, I believe. When the commission approved, they actually approved more in 2018, and then that was cut down at City Council. That's my understanding.
Thank you so much. And then just one other question. I just wanted some clarification on the background. I think this spot, I think you got into it a bit in 2017. I think it was supposed to be for a much larger, I think it was over 100 units, right? Do I have that wrong? Did it used to be like 150 units, and then it changed, and so now it's a much smaller? Okay.
I'm not aware of that background. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Osorio.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Just a quick question. What was the response, or what's been the response so far to Community Board 5's request for including income-restricted units or exploring other community benefits?
I'm sorry, the response from, like, the applicant?
Yes,
regarding...
to the Community Board's recommendation.
We can get back to you on that, on the applicant's response to the Community Board.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that would be great.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, this is in the December 12th letter to the applicant, just recommending additional income-restricted housing, off-site affordable housing contributions, or other community benefiting commitments.
And I'll just note, thank you, Commissioner Osorio, you know, that as part of this special permit, you know, there's no rezoning, and MIH is not mapped here, so not a requirement for that applicant. So just noting that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's just that given the context, you know, the overall citywide goals in terms of expanding affordable housing, this sounds like an important opportunity.
Yeah, noted. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We're going to be taking a vote on this one today. The standard for us is whether the facts have changed. Commissioner Cerullo?
But just a quick question in light of the recommendation or the encouragement by the Community Board and some of the questions. Since this action for the renewal of the special permit involves, for purposes of moving this ahead, the fact that the facts have not changed, in the event the applicant, or there was more pressure than not for the applicant to add affordability to this project, would that change this project where we almost couldn't renew it and they would have to start all over? Or would that be a material change or substantial change in the application that would almost prevent us from approving it based on the standard that we approve these things?
I mean, I'll jump in to say that even if you had the affordable housing as an additional component, the special permits relate to modifications of the bulk and the height, the setback, the minimum side yard questions, window to wall distances, and things like that. So long as those things are staying the same, okay. The circumstances, I think, could very easily be found to be that the circumstances had not changed. Now, of course, it's up to the commission to make that finding. Right. But those would be the sorts of things.
So what's happening inside would be less critically significant to the facts than what was happening.
That's correct, because that's what the special permit is designed to get to, those sorts of changes.
Those things, lock those things in. Okay.
Correct.
It just was a question I kind of thought of as we were having these conversations. So thank you, appreciate it. And
thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else? Okay. Any other questions or comments before I move this to a vote? Commissioner Benjamin?
One quick question. Do we know that the applicant is fulfilling all of the maintenance requirements for the landmark that they had agreed to, and that the landmark itself is being maintained in the way the restrictive deck would have required? Does anybody look at that?
We can get back to you with more details on that, but that is a requirement for the special permit moving forward.
Right, I do understand that. I just wanted to know if anybody ever checks on whether, in fact, these things are happening.
My understanding is that LPC, sort of is involved in that program.
Monitoring?
But I don't know the extent to which they're actually engaged in monitoring, and that's something we could follow up with you with.
Okay, that would be, I'd really appreciate that. Not just for this one, but
in general.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll follow up to understand who does the monitoring of continuing maintenance programs like this one. Okay. All right. Thank you. With that, I'll seek assent by voice vote to send an approval letter to the Buildings Department. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you. This is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Congrats on your first one.
The fourth item on our agenda is a non-ULURP renewal of a previously approved special permit in the Bronx, Community District 8, and our presenter is Nathan Heffron.
Hi, Nathan. Happy New Year. Let's make sure that that microphone is on.
Thank you. Good job.
Come up.
All right, so this is the post-referral presentation for Hebrew Home for the Aged, second renewal of a zoning special permit. The applicant is Hebrew Home, also known as River Spring Health. The project is located at the northwest corner of the Bronx in Community District 8 at 5701 and 5961 Palisade Avenue. The applicant is seeking a sole action to renew their zoning special permit pursuant to ZR Section 11-43 to facilitate the expansion of their facility to include independent living units as well as a mix of nursing facility beds, which would make it the first continuing care retirement community, or CCRC, in New York City. The project consists of an approximately 32-acre site on a split lot between an R4 district, referred to by the applicant as the North Campus, and an R1-1 district, referred to as the South Campus. The entirety of the site is located within the Special Natural Area District, or SNAD. The site is bounded by West 261st Street and College of Mount St. Vincent to the north, Palisade Avenue to the east, the Metro North Railroad to the west, and West 254th Street to the south. Other zoning districts in the area include a mix of R1, R2, and R4 low-density residential districts, and the land uses in the area consist of mostly single-family residential and community facility uses, with a commercial corridor to the east on Riverdale Avenue. The site is largely underserved by transit, with the closest bus lines, the BX7 and 10, on Riverdale Avenue to the east. There is a Metro North Railroad stop approximately 1/2 mile to the south that is difficult to access due to the varying topography and intermittent sidewalk network. Hebrew Home, formerly known as Hebrew Home for the Aged, was founded in 1917 to provide housing and services for aging adults. Hebrew Home acquired their current site on Palisade Avenue in 1948 and expanded to its current footprint by acquiring what would become the South Campus in 2011. The bulk of their services occur on their North Campuses in 9 buildings ranging in height from 1 to 8 stories. The campus currently includes 753 skilled nursing facility beds, 104 assisted living units, and 137 nonprofit residences for the elderly. This project may be familiar to the Commission because it recently approved the first special permit renewal late last year in November, but some more context on the approval history leading up to this application. In September 2018, Hebrew Home was approved for the original special permit to facilitate the expansion of their facility pursuant to ZR Section 74-901A. The permit was approved by the City Council in November of 2018. Due to pandemic-related delays, the 2018 special approved permit lapsed, and the applicant filed for a renewal in 2022. However, the applicant soon after approached DCP to modify the special permit in order to allow for the provision of additional amenities for residents and to improve traffic flow in and around the campus. These modifications and the first special permit renewal were approved by the Commission in November of last year. The first special permit renewal term is for 3 years from the date of the filing of the renewal, and construction on the first of the 3 proposed building bases would need to be complete in order to vest the special permit. Construction has not yet begun, hence the filing of the second special permit renewal in September of this year. The sole action brought before the Commission is a special permit renewal pursuant to ZR Section 11-43. The special permit is to allow for the CCRC to be built on the R1-1 portion of the site. The CCRC is allowed as of right in the R4 portion of the site. An additional note on the actions. As mentioned before, this project lies within the Special Natural Area District. For the modifications that were approved by the CPC last year, that application also included several new SNAD authorizations whose term lasts for 4 years. Since this application isn't modifying the proposal any further, no additional actions are needed here with regard to SNAD. The proposed development that this action will facilitate is an expansion of the Hebrew Home campus to create the CCRC. The development will contain 3 new abutting buildings, including an 11-story building on the North Campus, seen here, and 5 and 3-story buildings on the South Campus. There will be a total of 386 independent living units, which will include a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. The proposed CCRC would be the first approved in New York City and will be licensed under Article 46 of the New York State Public Health Law. It will contain a mix of independent living, assisted living, and skilled nursing components, allowing residents to stay in the community as their needs change as they age. Admission to the CCRC will be subject to a life care contract approved and formed by the New York State Departments of Health and Insurance. The life care contract will provide that no one would be asked to leave the CCRC because they become financially unable to pay monthly costs. The project will also provide an additional 162 parking garage spaces, bringing the total number of spaces on the entire campus to 600, whereas 506 is required today. The project was referred to Community Board 8 on December 1st, which was discussed at their Land Use Committee on that same day. The board held a public hearing and vote of their full board on December 9th. Their vote was favorable, with 26 voting in favor, 0 against, and 3 abstentions. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you. Questions? Okay, excellent. All right, then I'm going to seek assent by a voice vote here to send an approval letter to the Buildings Department. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Okay, this is approved, and we will move forward. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Our next item is special presentation by Timothy Fry of the Landmarks Preservation Commission concerning historic districts in Brooklyn Community District 14.
Hello and welcome. Glad you're here.
Good afternoon, Chair Grodnick and Commissioners. I'm Tim Fry, LPC staff. Oh, well, okay. There we go. I am happy, thank you for the opportunity to present the Beverly Square West and the Ditmas Park West historic districts, both which were designated on November 25th of last year. And both historic districts feature distinctive homes built at the turn of the 20th century as Flatbush transitioned from a farming village to an early suburban development. Both Beverly Square West and Ditmas Park West are located in historic suburban Flatbush, an area of turn of the 20th century freestanding houses extending southward from Prospect Park towards Brooklyn College. Within this area, LPC has designated 3 historic districts: Prospect Park South in 1979, Ditmas Park in 1981, and Fisk Terrace Midwood Park in 2008. The recently designated Beverly Square West Historic District, seen here in blue on this slide, includes 118 houses built between 1894 and 1910 along Argyle, Rugby, and Marlborough Roads between Beverly Road and Cortelyou Road, just south of Prospect Park. Nearly all the homes were designed by well-known Brooklyn architects, including John Pettit, John Slee, and Benjamin Dreisler. The recently designated Ditmas Park West Historic District, also seen just south of Beverly Square West on this map in blue, is located 1 block south of Beverly Square West. It contains 127 houses, nearly all built between 1902 and 1910 on Westminster, Argyle, Rugby, and Marlborough Roads, as well as on Ditmas Avenue between Argyle and Westminster Avenue. Nearly half the houses in Ditmas Park West Historic District were designated by one architect, Arlington Isham, and it is just west of the existing Ditmas Park Historic District. The boundaries of these very compact districts were determined after extensive analysis of a much broader area and include the most significant and intact buildings. Through the designation process, non-contributing buildings along the edges of these districts were removed. At its October 21st, 2025 public hearing, LPC heard substantial support for both historic districts. 33 people spoke in favor of the Beverly Square West Historic District, and no one spoke in opposition. For Ditmas Park West, 10 people spoke in favor of designation, and 3 people spoke in opposition. Strong supportive testimony also included elected officials, such as Assembly Member Robert Carroll and Council Member Rita Joseph, as well as the Flatbush Development Corporation, Prospect Park South Association, New York Landmarks Conservancy, Historic Districts Council, and the Victorian Society of New York. Many in favor of the designation also urged the Commission to consider expanding the proposed boundaries. With that context, I'll start by focusing a little bit on the history of Beverly Square West and its development and architectural character. The development of Beverly Square West began when local builders and individual homeowners began constructing houses within the northern portion of the district in 1894. This area soon became known as Matthews Park after the land's previous owner. The map here at the right shows the houses built there by about 1898, and the district was almost entirely built within a 10-year period between roughly 1894 and 1905. This rapid period of development gives Beverly Square West its remarkable architectural cohesiveness. Almost all of Beverly Square West's houses were completed in the Queen Anne, Colonial Revival, or shingle styles. This free mixing of styles, as well as the rich variety of house designs within these styles, creates the engaging streetscapes of the proposed district. Throughout the proposed district as well, original landscape features remain generally intact. Houses are set behind open lawns and forming a continuous belt of greenery, and planting strips separate the sidewalks from the curbs. Though varied in style and design, the houses of Beverly Square West form harmonious suburban streetscapes, little change from their time of construction. I'll now turn to Ditmas Park West Historic District, which shares a similar development history and architectural character. Ditmas Park West was a project of Lewis Pounds and his Manor Realty Company. In 1902, Pounds purchased the former John Ditmas farm, which had been farmed using the labor of enslaved people up into the 19th century, and the property was bisected by the Brighton Railroad. Soon afterward, Pounds began developing the portion east of the railroad line as Ditmas Park Development, and the portion west of the railroad as Ditmas Park West. As in Beverly Square West, Ditmas Park West possesses strong architectural and historical cohesiveness due to its rapid development and uniform building type. All but two of its houses were constructed between 1902 and 1910, with the remaining two houses built in the 1920s. Like in Beverly Square West, Queen Anne, Colonial Revival, and shingle-style houses dominate the development. Today, also, the historic landscape features of Ditmas Park West remain largely intact, contributing to its lush suburban feel with front lawns remaining continuous and open. Although both Ditmas Park West and Beverly Square West were impacted by Brooklyn's population losses in the 1960s and 70s, both districts benefited from the renewed interest in historic neighborhoods that came with Brooklyn's brownstone revival. Walking and house tours at that time, started in the 1980s, were crucial in increasing awareness of the area's rich architectural history. And since that time, these districts, which initially excluded non-white families, have become increasingly diverse, as African American families and families of East and South Asian and Middle Eastern backgrounds have purchased houses here. The districts also have a substantial Jewish community, which first took root in the 1930s. I'd also like to note that LPC supports efforts to increase housing production in historic districts. The Landmarks Law does not prevent development in historic districts, but regulates change to ensure its compatibility for the district. Designation also does not prevent the conversion of single-family homes to multiple dwellings. LPC regulates exterior changes, including rear, side, or rooftop additions, which are regularly approved by historic districts citywide. In these two recently designated historic districts, there are clear opportunities to advance citywide housing initiatives under City of Yes, particularly related to ADUs. The districts consist primarily of 1- and 2-family homes, and as shown in this slide, ADUs are permitted on all properties in both historic districts, either within the existing residential building or an existing accessory structure on the site, such as a detached garage. While designation would prohibit new backyard ADUs and required rear yards, all other ADU types are allowed, including cellar, attic, and other interior units, as well as ADUs in the before-mentioned existing accessory structures. I'd also like to note that LPC staff is developing new ADU guidance and advancing new rules to hopefully streamline their approval and support housing growth within this district. Again, thank you for your opportunity to present both the Beverly Square West and Ditmas Park West historic districts, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Appreciate your being here with us. Let me start with Commissioner Goodrich. Commissioner.
Hi, thank you so much for your very informative presentation. I have a quick question. I am a fan of Ditmas. I'm a native Brooklynite, and I'm a fan of Ditmas Park and all of the historic districts. Sometimes when I bring up historic districts and landmarks, one of the criticisms that I've heard, I don't really believe in, but I wanted to pitch to you, is that they drive up property values and housing costs, leading to gentrification and pricing out residents. And I would really appreciate, since you're an expert on this, to explain this to me, if this actually has any. This is all I hear when I bring this up, of a criticism. So since someone's here, actually I think I posted about this exact neighborhood, and this is where I criticism. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
Sure. Thank you for the question, and I'm happy to get back to it. It's a very big question, of course. Happy to get back to you on more detailed information about that. I think just in general, we could say, there have been studies about the correlation between designation and gentrification or affordability in the past, and those studies have shown that in historic districts, there's actually an increase in value in an upmarket faster than properties not in historic districts, and a decrease in slower markets. But in regards to specifically gentrification or affordability, LPC works very closely with its property owners to make sure that we're able to not only achieve their goals, but do it in a way that's affordable. Our commission regularly approves substitute materials like aluminum windows or other materials that maybe still can be considered appropriate to the district without being a detriment to the architectural character. Trying to see here. Other than that, I can't think of anything else, but I'm happy to get back to you in more detail about that.
And then my second and last question is, I was wondering if there's any demographic information for the specific historic districts. The ones that we have, say, Flatbush and Midwood, but that's for the entire neighborhood. But I thought it would be helpful to know, like who actually owns the houses. So the specific historic districts, and I was wondering if we have that or no.
There is some demographic information in the racial equity report, but those boundaries aren't coterminous with the historic district. I'm not sure if we're able to drill down further to the specific boundaries, but happy to look into that further as well.
Yeah, this is what I'm looking at, the racial equity report. It says the Flatbush and Midwood, and then Brooklyn, and then NYC. So that's why I was asking.
Great.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Mann.
Thanks for the presentation and for the work to move these designations forward. I'm just curious about the ADU question you noted. And just help me understand, if somebody were, I don't know that there's really available locations in people's backyards or driveways wanting to do an ADU, why would that not be allowed? Because the LPC district would prevent the construction of a new accessory dwelling structure?
From my understanding, under City of Yes, new structures would not be permitted in required rear yards. However, in this district, one of the unique features is there are a number of detached garages that are already present, and any of those structures could be modified to create a new ADU
Got
unit.
it. So it's the zoning that's the issue here, not the LPC designation.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, thanks for that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Soria.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks so much for highlighting the opportunities, connecting the designation with the accomplishment of citywide goals. I appreciate that. Along those lines, I have two questions related with how can we use the designation as an opportunity to decarbonize the neighborhood? And so I'm wondering, from your point of view, what are the opportunities to amplify existing state resources like the Historic Rehabilitation Tax Credit Program, or what type of incentives can the city produce to help property owners use the designation to acquire potential benefits to or resources to improve the energy efficiency of these buildings, which, you know, is a challenge. And so that's the first question. Second question is, do you anticipate that the designation will make it harder for people to, let's say, install solar on the rooftops without compromising, you know, the quality of the building, or what are the opportunities that we could kind of like anticipate or be proactive about to, again, accelerate the decarbonization and not have the designation be detrimental to that?
Those are great questions, Commissioner. With your first question, you know, the LPC has a very small grant program, but it's targeted more to very low-income property owners, which I don't believe that these districts would qualify for. However, we are doing ongoing outreach, not only with the community boards, but also with individual homeowners to help them understand the benefits and responsibilities of landmark designation, and that at that time we are available to connect homeowners that are looking for access to certain grants or certain sort of low-interest loans, whether they're through nonprofits or through state and federal grants, to make sure that they have some sort of support when they have a project in mind. So that is very much in the forefront of our minds as well. We just know that there's a very limited pool of resources for landmark property owners, but we're always looking for ways to connect people to that money. And then second, in terms of solar panels, I'm happy to report, you know, the Commission's rules and regs around solar panels. Most solar panels can be approved at the staff level. The Commission just approved rules to make it much easier for homeowners to install solar panels. So I don't see that being an issue here in this district at all.
Okay, thank you. And what about window requirements? I mean, I guess your response to Commissioner Goodrich can like be used in this regard as well, that there could be flexibility in terms of materials?
Absolutely. The Commission regularly approves substitute materials, and not only for energy efficiency, but also longevity.
That's great. Thank you. Super useful. In terms of the first question, if you can share with us a little bit more information in that, just to understand the potential and make it explicit in the designation report or in any of the materials produced down the road, that this is an opportunity for decarbonization, and exactly what type of resources we could be amplifying. How can the City Planning Commission be useful to the LPC in terms of exploring what that could look like?
Sure.
And especially, how much could these two districts contribute in that regard? I think that this would be important.
Interesting. Okay, happy to do that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Benjamin.
Yeah, in terms of the ADUs, would that be considered a staff level review? The conversion of the parking garage to an ADU, or would that be a commission review?
That's a great question, Commissioner. It's hard to speculate right now because every project may be unique, but we are looking at facilitating or advancing new rules to make that clarification. Naturally, if an ADU were to be developed within the existing main structure where there may be light, air, and exposure requirements already met by existing window openings, there may not be any review other than staff level review because all the work is happening on the interior.
Right, but if it was a garage that then needed to open up windows and a door.
Exactly. And so we are looking into that now. We're hoping that there could be a number of scopes of work related to ADUs that are considered sort of routine or expected that can be approved at the staff level, and perhaps it's more expansive sort of expansions of those garage structures that may have to go to the Commission, such as an addition.
So you're working on a guidance document,
Exactly.
Can you say?
Yeah, we're hoping that the Commission will approve some rules to make it easier for homeowners to convert these existing structures to ADUs.
And in general, would you say that putting in windows or a door could be accommodated within the staff level review?
That is our hope, yes.
Okay. And when do you expect these guidance documents?
I know that's a great question. I know we're actively working on them. I don't have that answer, but I'm happy to get back to the Commission on exactly the timeline for that document.
That would be great. That would really, and the same issue with attic changes.
Such as dormers.
My assumption is, in general terms, that if it can't be seen from the street, from a public place, it can be a staff level review. Is that a fair?
Sometimes. Yeah, it really depends on the character of the district and what's outlined in the designation report. But generally, where there is more flexibility on a building is usually in the areas that are not visible from the public right-of-way. So that's why we normally see dormers or expansions happening at the rear of properties. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was getting at,
Yeah.
dormers.
Yeah.
But if the dormers were on the sides of the property, over the side yards, let's say, that might require a more intensive.
That is something our preservation staff is looking at right now and working closely with our commission on whether or not those can be approved at the staff level.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Commissioner. Okay, well, thank you. We'll pick this one up for public hearing, both of these up for public hearing on Wednesday. So thank you for being with us. Okay, let's move on to item number 7.
So the 5th and 6th items on our agenda are pre-hearing reviews of the historic districts aforementioned in Community District 14, and our presenters are Hanif Yazdi and Katie Martin.
And before we start, let's make the distinction between what just happened and what's about to happen. Maybe you can just do that for those who are our extensive audience that is watching on YouTube, and also for the commissioners present. So go ahead.
All right. Well, that was a presentation by our colleagues at the Landmarks Preservation Commission, and we'll be presenting sort of the pre-hearing version of that, where we'll be dealing with a little bit more of the nuances that kind of we deal with here at the Planning Commission on the zoning and land use questions. So with that, I'll begin. Some of the content, most of it will be familiar to you, but we'll proceed. So good afternoon, and thank you, commissioners. This is, as you know, an application by the Landmarks Preservation Commission to designate. I'll begin with the Ditmas Park West, by the way, presentation. My colleague Katie will be going forward with the Beverly Hills version. The proposed district is, as you know, in Brooklyn Community District 14. You can see here both of those proposed districts visible. You have Beverly Square, West Historic District to the north, and Ditmas Park West to the south. The district will contain, this is Ditmas Park, approximately 127 freestanding houses located along Marlborough Road, Rugby Road, and Argyle, in between Dorchester Road and Ditmas Avenue. Coney Island Avenue to the west serves as the area's main commercial and transit corridor. The Newkirk Avenue B and Q stops are 2 blocks southeast of the proposed district. The proposed historic district stretches across 4 blocks, encompassing a suburban-style development in the area and a unified aesthetic brought about by the involvement of a limited number of prominent architects of the era that our colleagues at LPC talked to us about. The proposed district consists of properties mostly built between 1902 and 1906, Queen Anne, early colonial revival, combination of styles and shingle style predominate in the neighborhood. Proposed historic district is zoned R3X, which facilitates single or 2-family detached residences with a maximum FAR of 1.0. R3X districts permit a maximum height of 35 feet. The R3X zoning district was mapped in 2009 as part of the Flatbush rezoning. Marlborough, Rugby, Argyle roads are narrow streets, all of them, per zoning, with widths of 60 feet. Coney Island Avenue to the west of the project area is zone R5, R6A, and CA2, and primarily has commercial, utility, and mixed-use residential uses. Moving on to the racial equity report, figure 1 here shows race and ethnicity information for the area in 2020, with Asian population standing at 13%, Black population around 29%, the Hispanic and Latino population at 15%, and the white population at 37%. Figure 14 shows Figure 2 shows the percent change in race and ethnicity between 2010 and 2020. The Asian population increased by nearly 40%. White population increased by 4%. The black population decreased by nearly 20%. The Hispanic Latino population decreased by 2%. Figure 14 shows the percent change in housing supply and population from 2010 to 2024. During this time, housing units in the area increased by 8%, while the population increased by 2% as well. One note that with the mapping of the historic district, backyard ancillary dwelling units, or ADUs, would not be permitted, and transit-oriented development, or TOD, which allows modest multifamily housing, would be unlikely to develop on qualifying sites. In conclusion, this is an application from the Landmarks Preservation Commission to designate the Ditmas Park West Historic District as a new historic district. The Department of City Planning staff is unaware of any conflict with the zoning resolution, projected public improvements, or plans for development, growth, improvement, or renewal within the historic district or surrounding area. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Benjamin.
Quick question. To what do you attribute the diminishing number of African Americans and Latinos in this particular area?
This is unfortunately something that I don't have too much information about. It's hard for me to speculate about the reason behind the changing demographic conditions in the area, not within the purview of our consideration here. That I'm aware of.
Right, but following up on Commissioner Goodridge's question before, do we believe the designation will have any impact on the demographics of the area?
It's a very good question. It's not something that we're capable of predicting. It's certainly not something that I am able to sort of comment meaningfully on at this time. I'm not sure, but yeah, I can pass it on to our director here.
Commissioner Alex Summer, Director of the Brooklyn office. No, it's something that we've been looking at as part of our surrounding work, not associated with the historic district itself, but when we see significant population changes that we want to take a deeper dive and understand that, we can get back to you on what some of our assumptions are. Just to clarify, these are neighborhood tabulation areas, are much larger than the historic district boundaries. We can see how granular we can get, but ultimately they're not going to be like coterminous, some of the geographies, but happy to follow up and try and get some deeper analysis for you.
Okay, because these two were some of the areas when we were doing City of Yes that were very concerned about the City of Yes, particularly about the ADUs and the possible changes in neighborhood character that could come about. So I'm really curious about whether we can look at those things and what the impact of landmarking this area might be, whether it would push proposed development to some other area, how that, in terms of this doesn't conflict with the city's plans. I'd like a little more information on that.
Happy to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Okay. Now we'll pick this one up on Wednesday for a public hearing, both items 5, Ditmas Park. Now, the famous Beverly Hills, or maybe even Beverly Square, which, whichever it is, we're excited about it. Thank you and welcome. This is item 6, the Beverly Square West Historic District. Katie.
Hello.
All right. So this will be very, very similar. Just heads up. So good afternoon, Chair Grodnick and Commissioners. This is an application by the Landmarks Preservation Commission to designate the Beverly Square West Historic District as a new historic district. The proposed district is in the Ditmas Park neighborhood of Brooklyn Community District 14. So this map shows both proposed historic districts, with Beverly Square West Historic District to the north, closest to Prospect Park. The district will contain 118 freestanding houses located along Marlborough Road, Rugby Road, and Argyle Road, in between Beverly Road and Cortelyou Road. Coney Island Avenue to the west and Cortelyou Road serve as the area's commercial and transit corridors. The Cortelyou Road and Beverly Road Q train stops are directly east of the proposed district boundaries. As you can see from the aerial view, the proposed historic district stretches across 4 blocks and represents early 20th century suburban development in Brooklyn. The proposed district consists of properties mostly built between or before 1906, showing a cohesive and preserved suburban neighborhood. The architecture represents late Queen Anne, early colonial revival, a combination of these two, as well as shingle style. The proposed historic district is zoned R3X, which facilitates single or 2-family detached residences with a maximum FAR of 1. R3X districts permit a maximum height of 35 feet. For qualifying residential sites, multifamily buildings are also permitted. The R3X zoning district was mapped in 2009 as part of the Flatbush rezoning. Marlborough Road, Rugby Road, and Argyle Road are narrow streets with widths of 60 feet. Coney Island Avenue to the west of the project area is zoned R5, R6A, and C82, and primarily has commercial, utility, and mixed-use residential uses. In Figure 1, we can see the population of the Flatbush and Midwood NTA is predominantly white, non-Hispanic, and Black non-Hispanic. Catch my breath, sorry. With the percentage of white non-Hispanic residents at 37%, which exceeds both the borough at 35% and the city at 31%. The Black non-Hispanic population at 29% is higher than borough and citywide percentages. Figure 2 shows a percent change in race and ethnicity from 2010 to 2020. The largest growth was seen in the Asian non-Hispanic population, which has experienced a growth of 39% compared to an increase at 43% borough-wide and 34% citywide. The Black non-Hispanic and Hispanic populations have both seen population decreases in comparison with the borough and the city. Figure 14 shows a percent change in housing supply and population from 2010 to 2024. During this time, housing units in this area increased by 8%, while the population increased by 2%. With the mapping of a historic district, backyard ancillary dwelling units, or ADUs, would not be permitted, and transit-oriented development, or TOD, which allows modest multifamily housing, would be unlikely to develop on qualifying sites. In conclusion, this is an application from the Landmarks Preservation Commission to designate the Beverly Square West Historic District as a new historic district. Department of City Planning staff is unaware of any conflict with the zoning resolution, projected public improvements, or any plans for development, growth, improvement, or renewal within the historic district or surrounding area. This concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you very much, Katie. Okay. Excellent. We now will pick this one up on Wednesday. Number 6, the Beverly Square West Historic District. And let's move on to item 7. We'll see both of those historic districts for public hearing on Wednesday. Okay.
The 7th item on our agenda is a pre-hearing review of a zoning map and zoning text amendments and a special permit in Brooklyn Community District 1, and our presenter is Jonah Rogoff.
Hi, Jonah.
Hello. Good afternoon, Chair, Commissioners. Happy New Year. Also, just quickly note, I'm covering for Lucia Marquez Reagan, who's out. So, great. Okay. So this is a pre-hearing presentation for 20 Berry Street, which certified on September 15th of last year. It's a private application by Mahata Corporation to facilitate an approximately 192,000 square foot development totaling 4.8 FAR and consisting of approximately 32,000 square feet of light industrial space and 160,000 square feet of commercial, which is proposed to be a mix of office, retail, and restaurant uses. The development would rise to a height of 135 feet or 10 stories and contain 80 parking spaces, 2 loading berths, and 9,690 square feet of publicly accessible open space. Quick refresher, it's located at 20 Berry Street at the juncture of the Greenpoint and Williamsburg neighborhoods of Brooklyn within Community District 1. The applicant proposes a series of actions to facilitate the development, including a zoning map amendment, text amendment, and special permit, which we'll briefly walk through. The first action is a zoning map amendment to rezone an M11 district to an M12 district in the area highlighted in pink. The second action is a zoning text amendment to add the project area, again in pink, to the map within zoning resolution section 74-948 as a designated industrial business incentive area, which we commonly refer to as IBIA. The third action is a special permit for floor area, bulk, open space, parking, and loading waivers related to being within an IBIA, which allows FAR to increase for commercial and industrial uses from a base FAR of 2.0 to a maximum FAR of 4.8 if 0.8 FAR of required industrial or production-based uses are provided. Coupled with the floor area increase, the special permit would allow a modified loft-style bulk envelope with a maximum base height of 75 feet and a building height of 110 feet, which can also increase to 135 feet when on-site public open space is provided. That's at least 2,000 square feet and occupies at least 12% or more of the lot. The applicant proposes a total of 9,690 square feet of open space, of which 4,800 square feet would be a public plaza, satisfying the requirement of being at least 12% of the lot area. In addition, the applicant proposes 4,890 square feet of additional public space, which is being voluntarily provided. And then in tandem with that open space, waivers are being sought to the underlying public plaza regulations in order to orient the open space along Berry Street and across from McCarran Park. And lastly, pursuant to the special permit, the applicant seeks to reduce the amount of required off-street parking from 648 to 80 parking spaces, and then lower the number of required loading berths from 8 to 2, which would be accessed by a curb cut along North 13th Street. On November 18th, Brooklyn's Community Board 1 voted unanimously with 31 in favor, none opposed, none abstaining, to approve the application with 2 conditions. First, to prohibit amplified sound or music on the roof, and second, to provide a public restroom. And then on December 3rd, the Brooklyn Borough President held a public hearing and recommended to approve the application with conditions to limit all loading and parking to North 13th Street, remove current curb cuts from Berry Street, provide a public bathroom, restroom, and provide no more than 40 parking spaces. Before I conclude, I just want to note that the applicant team is preparing to respond to a few questions at certification related to background on the public plaza waivers, flood resiliency, the number of employees currently at the site, and then also the status of selecting industrial and office tenants. And then separately within the department, we're planning to respond more in full, just with background on the status of IBA projects and provide more detail as it relates to the industrial plan. So with that, happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Benjamin.
Thank you, Jonah, for picking this up for us. My question is just, when we've had other community boards that have asked for restrooms in public plazas, usually it's not been a special permit request. Is there a restrictive deck associated with this special permit request?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
And are we legally able to incorporate such a requirement in a restrictive deck associated with the special permit?
Let me check internally unless there's anyone from council here. I don't believe so, but we'll check and get back to you.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. And, could you just go in, if you can, I understand that you picked this up at the last minute. The POPs, I was a little confused at the POPs issues for how much each one of the POPs was contributing to the requirement that, and then how much extra FAR was generated.
So I can definitely explain that. So first, to clarify, the providing open space doesn't unlock more FAR. But what it does unlock is 25 additional feet in height. For the purposes of the special permit, we parsed out the open space into the portion that's required based on the special permit. So that's equivalent to approximately 12% of the lot area, and that's subject to the underlying public plaza regulations. The rest, that's part of the special permit as well, and connected to the approved drawing set. So that's more of a technical aspect where we just wanted to be clear about what's required versus, and then the applicant's going above and beyond that by providing additional space.
The above and beyond part is not actually a POPs then? It's a gift.
Let me check. I want to double check if it's supposed to comply with the full set of public plaza regulations, but it's certainly.
And if that is voluntary or if that is a requirement.
So they're both voluntary, but would say that the portion that's public plaza, that's
generates the 25 extra feet.
Exactly.
And then the portion that's not does not generate any benefits for the developer other than the benefit of doing a nice thing for the community. Is that fair?
I would say it's fair, but at the same time, we'll let the applicant kind of speak to that. But I would say that this public open space was carefully designed, and would say that the commission also has findings related to the open space, and so part of that is demonstrating that it's a superior site plan, that the open space contributes.
Right, but are you considering the non-benefit portion in the same way as you consider the public space that is generating a benefit?
I'm not sure if I fully follow you, but I would say that they're interconnected. It's just more of I would say like a technical matter where, for the purposes of the special permit, we have to kind of designate the portion that's satisfying the requirement.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Mike, if the developer were to determine that it didn't make sense for them to do the other, the other 1.8 thousand square feet?
Approximately 4,800.
Okay, so that's the big one. If the developer decided they were no longer interested or it didn't make sense to do that anymore, could they decide not to do it? You can get back to me if you're not.
Well, we'll get back to you because we'll verify the language of the restrictive deck and all that. But would say that both are subject to approval, in that they're part of the drawing set that's being provided, that's being reviewed by the commission. But we'll get back to you. I
understand what you're saying, and after we get those answers, I may have some follow-up questions for you about how we should consider the space that is not required, not the space that is not offering the developer any benefits, so to speak, any city benefits in height or anything else.
We'll let the applicant team speak to that, but I would say that just to clarify that, I think from our perspective, they both serve a benefit. and their
Right, I
interconnected.
understand that, but in terms of the developer, he or she is not receiving any additional zoning benefits for the 4.8 thousand square feet of open space that is not providing the height benefits.
I see. Okay. We'll get back to you, and then we'll also alert the development team to kind of speak to how they're thinking.
Right, but I'd like the council for city planning to talk about those issues also, not just the attorney for the developer.
Understood.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Osorio, Commissioner Mann.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks so much for the presentation and for addressing our questions. I have two quick clarification questions in preparation for Wednesday. One is on page 67, the findings state that there's only one curb cut, yet it sounds like there's more, right? There's curb cuts on both Berry and 13th, North 13th.
It's a little difficult to see here, and the applicant team can speak to this, but they're proposing one curb cut where the arrow is. That's approximately 50 feet in length. That curb cut is where the two loading berths are being accessed.
Because the borough president is also recommending that there are no curb cuts on Berry.
Actually, maybe if you could, I was a little unclear about that recommendation. Maybe the applicant team can shed more light on it. It might relate to there are existing curb cuts.
Well, maybe that would be useful, but maybe if you can actually get back to us before Wednesday in preparation for the conversation with the applicant, I would appreciate it, because it sounds like there's a conflict between what the findings are saying and what the borough president is recommending.
So we'll check that, but I just want to clarify, they're proposing one curb cut where the two, approximately 50 feet wide, where the two loading berths, and that's where it's
on what street?
On North 13th Street.
Not on Berry.
Not on Berry, as far as I know. We'll double check.
Great. Okay, thank you. And then the other question is, so building on Commissioner Benjamin's question, so can you just summarize? I know that I went through the findings and was pleased to see that there's additional trees, for example, beyond what's required under the public plaza kind of like section. But can you just highlight in what aspects it's actually falling under the requirements? I know that it's not required to be compliant with a public plaza, but I want to understand, where it's not complying, and then why can't our the findings of the special permit require to be compliant?
So I guess related back to Commissioner Benjamin, let us just go back and just verify the scope of what's being approved, because I believe both are subject to the Commission's approval, but the portion that's designated public plaza is mainly for the purpose of identifying the space that unlocks or allows the additional height to increase. So we'll get back to you on that, but I don't want to misspeak.
Fair enough. Yeah. The other question that I have is, I don't know why, maybe there are no requirements on permeability under the special permit. There are on trees, et cetera, but not on permeability, and I'm wondering whether that's something that we should consider here.
So let us get back to that. There is as part of the land. There's a drawing set associated with the open space, and that does include a variety of features and amenities. Offhand, I'm not 100% sure if that includes pavement requirements, but we'll check that and see if permeability is.
Yeah, no, thank you. That would be useful. I mean, my question is really, why is the special permit not establishing a threshold in terms of how much permeability there should be in terms of the urban design?
I would say, so first I would encourage you we could raise that with the applicant team, but it's partly in relation to the public plaza regulations. So it's similar to kind of waterfront public access areas. There's a body of rules within zoning that governs public access areas and the standards, and a lot of what they're proposing kind of ties back to meeting those requirements.
Yeah, yeah.
So just want to clarify that.
No, thank you. I mean, but the question goes back to Commissioner Benjamin's question in terms of existing requirements, let's say for public plazas that should be fully met. And then, so I'm just wondering, trying to understand how to think productively about some of these aspects when the commission could adjust some of these requirements to improve safeguards, et cetera, right?
Understood. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Mann?
I'll save it for Wednesday. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks, Jonah. We will pick this one up on Wednesday for the public hearing. Thanks for your presentation. Okay, let's move on to number 8, please.
The 8th item on our agenda is a pre-hearing review of an acquisition and site selection in Queens Community Districts 2 and 5 and Brooklyn Community District 1. Our presenter is Derek Jasmine on Zoom.
All right.
Good afternoon. Are you able to hear me?
Derek, can you speak?
Okay.
We can hear you.
Just say next slide when you need the slides advanced. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you. This application was certified on September 15th and is now back for pre-hearing. Next slide, please. Next slide. This is an application by DEP and DCAS spanning across Community Districts 2 and 5 in Queens, as well as Community District 1 in Brooklyn, for site selection and acquisition actions to facilitate the development of a new 3-mile-long, 550 million gallon capacity combined sewage outflow CSO tunnel connecting 4 sewage outflows along the Newtown Creek Basin straddling Brooklyn and Queens. Next slide. There are 99 total properties slated for ULURP approval. The applicants seek site selection and acquisition approval for 90 properties, of which
Hold on one sec. We appear to have lost your audio, so.
Okay. Are you
I don't know if anything changed. Now we've got you. Welcome back.
Okay.
Why don't you go back a couple of sentences and we'll, it was not much.
Sure. I'll start back with the beginning of the slide. So there are 99 total properties slated for ULURP approval. The applicant seeks site selection and acquisition approval for 90 properties, of which 81 are seeking or for permanent underground easements for the tunnel. 4 require full fee simple acquisition. 3 only require temporary surface easements. 1 requires permanent subterranean and temporary surface easements, and 1 requires permanent subterranean and permanent surface easements. The other 9 are city-owned properties that only require site selection. Next slide. This application was certified on September 15th, and on November 6th, 2025, Queens Community Board 2 held a public hearing and subsequently voted 31 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstaining, a recommendation of favorable with conditions, which include all affected property owners shall receive clear and concise maps and cross-sections showing the location and details of the proposed tunnel within their properties in three dimensions. Construction work at the intersection of Greenpoint and Review Avenues shall be limited to nights and early morning hours, which don't conflict with times of high volume traffic, such as morning rush hour. The entire bulkhead surrounding Dutch Kills shall be repaired or replaced as part of the tunnel reconstruction project. DEP shall conduct a comprehensive flood study within the neighborhoods of Blissville and Maspeth, including scope and budget recommendations for alleviating flood hazards. DEP shall make additional site visits as promised and maintain regular communication with the Blissville Civic Association throughout the design and construction phases of the project. Replace substandard sewer lines along 37th Street and Greenpoint Avenue with standard-sized main sewer lines. Blissville Civic Association understands that the substandard lines are contributing to unprecedented sewer backflows being experienced in homes and businesses. And as discussed at the recent IVC meeting, that DEP shall create an amended Drainage plan for Blissville along the cemetery on 37th Street between Review and Bradley Avenues to account for the severe quality of water flowing over Cemetery Wall onto 37th Street for each time it rains. DEP shall fund and implement an investment in Blissville and Maspeth, similar to the one just unveiled in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, across Newtown Creek. The Gateway to Greenpoint, which is a project that will soak up nearly 1 million gallons of rainwater each year, reduce flooding, and expand green space for local residents. And that DEP coordinate with DOT to provide additional street trees and rain gardens along the entire length of the tunnel project. Next slide, please. On November 12th, 2025, Queens Community Board 5 held a public hearing and subsequently voted 31 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstaining, a favorable recommendation. Next slide, please. On November 18th, 2025, Brooklyn Community Board 1 held a public hearing and subsequently voted 33 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstaining, a recommendation of favorable with conditions, which include that DEP and DCAS give proper notice to all property owners affected by easements and acquisitions. DEP and DCAS negotiate value and economic hardship as part of the evaluation process. Contractors must be required to utilize barging for traffic mitigation. DEP and DCAS will continue to explore ways to increase the discharge volume from 70% to 90%. The city will construct green infrastructure where possible. Construction pollution controls should be beyond the required minimum, and that DEP and DCAS work diligently to explore avenues for noise mitigation. Next slide, please. On December 1st, 2025, the Queensborough President held a hearing on this application and on December 18th provided a favorable recommendation with the following conditions: that the applicant grants relief to the property owner of Block 2529, Lot 40, and Block 2552, Lot 25, and redirect the easement to the suggested locations along 56th Road and 57th Avenue. And that the applicant forms an oversight committee of nearby businesses and stakeholders and keep them informed on the tunnel's progress as well as any disruptions to traffic or other infrastructure. Next slide, please. Brooklyn Borough President held a public hearing on November 18th, 2025, and on December 24th, provided a favorable recommendation with the following conditions. Incorporating green infrastructure is critical to preparation for heavy rain events. Public spaces need to be prepared for heavy storms. The 2025 Comprehensive Plan for Brooklyn seeks to improve Brooklyn's climate change resiliency by supporting nature-based solutions for flood management. See Objective 3 Climate Element. Adding rain gardens, impervious surfaces, and more tree canopy can help transform plazas and streets to accommodate more water while also helping to reduce the urban heat island effect, improve air quality, and alleviate reliance on combined sewer systems. As attention is given below ground to the CSO infrastructure, DEP, alongside agency partners, must also invest in new trees, planting and greening projects, and in the exploration of innovative systems to manage rainwater and assist with placemaking. And the Borough President encourages DEP to coordinate with DOT, EDC, and MTA to resume operations of a warehousing and distribution facility at Block 2974, Lot 170, upon the completion of the below-grade NCB 015 diversion facility. This lot's adjacency to both the Bushwick Branch Rail Line and English Hills makes it a strategic location for both improved sewer and freight infrastructure. While the BP acknowledges that demolition of the existing warehouse is necessary for the diversion facility build-out, he believes that this action should not foreclose the potential for resumed freight operations once construction is complete. Indeed, the public acquisition of this site could present an opportunity for the city to directly facilitate the construction of a new intermodal micro-distribution site as outlined in DOT and EDC's Freight NYC plan and uplifted by the 2025 Comprehensive Plan for Brooklyn. Construction of a new intermodal freight facility that transfers packages from rail cars to smaller trucks, vans, and micromobility vehicles would allow freight to travel deeper into the borough on rail and take thousands of trucks off of Brooklyn and Queens streets. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. DEP is the seeker lead agency for this project. The seeker number is 24 DEP 053Y. DEP held a scoping meeting on the draft scope of work for the DEIS on March 12th and 2025, and written comments were accepted until April 11th. A notice of completion of the DEIS was issued on September 5th, 2025, and the DEIS identified significant adverse impacts with respect to transportation and noise in relation to construction. No other significant adverse impacts were identified. Mitigation measures are identified in the DEIS and will be explored further in the filed EAS. With that concludes the presentation, and I'm ready for questions.
Great, thank you. We're going to pick this one up on Wednesday for a public hearing. Let me see if there are questions that are specific for you. Okay, all right. Thank you. We'll see this Wednesday.
Great.
Let's move on to the next.
The ninth item on our agenda is a pre-hearing review of a UDAP designation, project approval, and disposition of city-owned property in Manhattan Community District 9, and our presenter is Audrey Walks.
Hi, Audrey.
Hi. Good afternoon, Commissioners, and Happy New Year. I'm here today to present the Community Board and Borough President recommendations on this application, but first I'd like to provide a recap of the development site, proposed actions, and proposed development. Today, the development site is improved by a 59,000 gross square foot building that houses 2 community facility tenants. The first is the Emma L. Bowen Community Service Center, which is a nonprofit that provides outpatient mental health and addiction treatment services. It occupies the majority of the building, and the second tenant is the Heritage Health Center, which provides mental health services and occupies the remaining area in the building. To facilitate its proposed development that will be replacing the building that is currently on the site, HPD seeks the designation of an urban development action area, approval of an urban development action area project, and disposition of a city-owned lot located at 1727 Amsterdam Avenue in Hamilton Heights, Manhattan Community District 9. Approval of the actions would result in the development of a 9-story, 143,000 zoning square foot mixed-use building with 200 dwelling units, including senior, supportive, and low-income units, and 13,000 zoning square feet of community facility space. Upon completion of the proposed development, only the Bowen Center will be relocated back to the new building, where it will occupy that 13,000 zoning square feet of community facility space. Moving on to recommendations, in November 2025, Manhattan Community Board 9 recommended disapproval of the application with 30 in favor, 2 against, and 4 abstaining. In a cover memo for its resolution, CB9 said that it emphatically recommends the denial of the ULURP application, but does so with the express goal of inviting the city to engage in a new round of planning that will allow the residents of our community to have a seat at the table as a respected partner in designing the future of this unique and critically important site. In addition to this invitation, the memo stated further objections to and perceived issues with the application, including community engagement, which it characterized as inadequate, an objection to the amount and type of supportive housing, which it characterized as significantly overburdening a neighborhood that already has assumed more than its fair share of such facilities, an observation that the proposed building substantially reduces space for community facility space for much needed healthcare providers, and lastly, it stated that the proposal inadequately addresses the critical shortage of affordable family-sized apartments in West Harlem. The following month, in December 2025, the Manhattan Borough President recommended approval of the application. Thank you, and happy to take your questions.
Great. Thank you very much. So we will also have a hearing on this one on Wednesday. Full stop. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for this. Okay. Let's move on to the next and final pre-hearing for the day.
The 10th item on our agenda is a pre-hearing review of an acquisition in Staten Island, Community District 3, and our presenter is Oliver Vega.
Hello, Oliver.
Hello. Happy New Year, Commissioners. Happy New Year, Chair Bradley. All right. Okay, great. I am presenting the pre-hearing brief on the Arden Heights Woods Stream Restoration Project. This is a public application from DEP, DDC, and DCAS seeking an acquisition of real property by the city to enable the construction of new sewer outfalls with stormwater best management practices, BMPs, and the installation of a series of downstream bank restoration and erosion prevention measures within the Arden Heights Woods watershed in the Arden Heights neighborhood of Staten Island Community District 3. The BMPs that are being proposed are part of the Staten Island Bluebelt Network, which consists of streams, ponds, and wetlands across 16 watersheds in the southern half of the borough. These are essential nature-based components of the area's stormwater management system. In 2003, DEP prepared the South Richmond Watershed Drainage Plan. In order to substantially complete the plan within the Arden Heights Wood watershed, DEP proposes to construct several storm sewers and BMP projects to attenuate stormwater runoff. Two of these BMPs, called AH2 and AH5, would require additional land beyond what the city already owns in the area. Specifically, BMP AH2 would extend from a sewer outfall adjacent to Woodrow Road into the natural areas of blocks 5733 and 5735. The applicants are proposing to install a basin comprised of fieldstone and riprap that would reduce the velocity of the water coming from the outfall into the stream to prevent erosion and promote hydrological flow. Block 5733, Lot 1, is a 321,000 square foot vacant, heavily wooded lot that is owned by the Woodrow Road Homeowners Association. DEP proposes to acquire the section of Lot 1 shown in yellow via easement. Block 5735, Lot 156, is a 4,000 square foot privately owned vacant lot. That lot, shown in red, would be acquired for city ownership. BMP AH5 would extend from a sewer outfall adjacent to Arden Avenue into Block 5776. This stormwater BMP would also consist of a basin of fieldstone and riprap that would attenuate the velocity of water flowing from the outfall before it enters the stream. Block 5776, Lot 70, is a 9,000 square foot privately owned lot with a two-family home that is heavily wooded along the rear lot line. The areas highlighted in yellow is proposed to be acquired via easement. The applicants seek an acquisition of real property by the city to facilitate the establishment of a 0.6 acre permanent easement through Block 5733, Lot 1, and acquisition of 3,900 square foot Block 5735, Lot 156 to facilitate BMP AH2 and establishment of a 2,900 square foot permanent easement through blocks 5776, Lot 70 for BMP AH5. These projects would advance DEP's South Richmond Watershed's drainage plan, and the acquired land would be placed under DEP jurisdiction and incorporated into the Staten Island Bluebelt system. On November 25th, 2025, Staten Island Community Board 3 voted unanimously to recommend approval of the acquisition application. The Staten Island Borough President also recommended approval. The applicant team will be here on Wednesday, January 7th, for a presentation and public hearing. Until then, I am happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will pick this one up for a hearing on Wednesday. Thank you. Great. Okay, let's move on to what's next, Madam Secretary.
The next part of our agenda are future votes for consideration on Wednesday, January 7th. Staff have prepared reports for Seaside Park Arts Community Center special permit, and David Weissglass is here to present on Zoom.
Is the presentation up?
Hi, David. Give us a moment to get it up for you.
Oh, great. Thought my computer was a mistake for a minute. All right, perfect.
Just say next slide when you're ready.
Will do. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm here to provide a staff recommendation for the Seaside Park and Community Arts Center special permit. This application was certified on August 11th, 2025. And the public hearing was held on December 3rd, 2025. And the CPC vote is scheduled for this Wednesday, January 7th. This project includes 5 actions: a zoning text amendment to modify and create a new special permit, allowing an amphitheater on the site, a special permit utilizing the new text, an acquisition of a portion of Lot 123 adjacent to the child's building, and 2 disposition actions. Next slide, please. And actually, perhaps I should have outlined that on this slide. So again, a zoning text amendment, a special permit utilizing that new text, an acquisition of a portion of Lot 123, and 2 separate disposition actions. The proposal is to allow the continued operation of the amphitheater on the site, codify existing conditions, and allow the expansion of the project site to include property adjacent to the child's building and area for an expanded seaside park, as shown here outlined in the dashed white line. The department supports this application, which would allow the continued use and operation of the Seaside Park and Community Arts Center, including the Child's Building, Coney Island Amphitheater, and Seaside Park Open Space, and codify existing conditions on the site. The department believes that the Seaside Park and Community Arts Center has proven to serve as a vital community resource while the ambitious plans for the Coney West area are being realized. The codification of the conditions on the site will allow its continued use as a community benefit. Quickly, the department is aware that there's been discussion about a potential term limit for this application, which would be within the Commission's purview to introduce as a modification if it so chooses. The department would support a term limit, as it may be necessary to revisit the future of the interim amphitheater as the plans for the 2009 Coney Island rezoning plan are being realized. The department would specifically support the granting of the special permit application with a fixed expiration date of December 31st, 2036. This would ensure that the term does not expire during the summer event season, while still allowing the department to revisit the facility's place in the community looking forward as the plan has continued to develop. Finally, I'd like to note that the applicant has submitted a memo to the CPC regarding their response to the Community Board recommendations and conditions. This memo should be in your packet for review. That concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Great, thank you. I have at least one from Commissioner Osorio.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much for facilitating the discussion. In going through the report and the documents that we've received, I still don't see a response on the annual community accountability recommendation from the Community Board. It sounds like a pretty straightforward request. And so I'm wondering if you've heard anything on that specific point. And then on the Community Advisory Committee, the applicant is flagging logistical difficulties with establishing this. And again, I feel that this is straightforward. There's ample precedent for it. And I'm wondering if you can explain a little bit what are those difficulties?
Unfortunately, I don't really have that information now. We've spoken to the applicant, and they've kind of just said what was in that memo, which is that there may be difficulties in creating such a committee and basically following through with all those details. I could speak with the applicant and do my best to get more specificity for you before Wednesday, though.
That'll be useful. I have the sense that the response is interpreting the recommendations from the community board as if the community board were just asking for more public participation, but they're asking for additional accountability. And I feel that this is an opportunity to elevate that. At the very least, I recommend that our report be explicit about the importance of these recommendations.
Understood. Understood. I'll speak to the applicant.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, thanks, David.
Thank you.
Staff have also prepared reports on 3301 11th Street rezoning. Lastly, for consideration are 507 Howard Avenue and 87 Romer Road in Staten Island. Briefing materials were in your weekend package. Next up are post-hearing follow-ups. First, we have 32nd Street demapping, which had a public hearing at the December 17th public meeting, and Juanita Halim is here to present.
Hi, Juanita.
Hi. Good afternoon, Chair Gratting and Commissioners. This is the post-hearing review for 32nd Street demapping. The project site is located in the Ditmars-Stenway neighborhood within the Astoria neighborhood in Queens Community District 1. The Grace Evangelical Church of Long Island City is seeking a city map amendment to eliminate a portion of 32nd Street between 21st Avenue and Ditmars Boulevard. This application was certified on September 15, 2025, and the public hearing was held on December 17, 2025. The requested action would preserve the yard as an active play and gathering space for Astoria Lutheran School and the church community, and protect the play area located on the school building grounds from potential DOT changes. DOT has no plan to improve this paper street, and the community board and the board president recommended approval of this application, and for this reason, the department recommends approval of the requested actions. Thank you. This is the end of the presentation, and happy to take any questions.
Okay, there are none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, post-hearing follow-up, Flushing Creek CSO disinfection facilities will be presented at a future review session. And lastly, at the next review session, we will hear a follow-up on 1325 Avenue of the Americas.
Great. And with that, let me ask if there's any other business pending before the commission today. There is none. I can report that the secretary is shaking her head in the no direction.
No, there is no other business.
And therefore, I feel free to adjourn this meeting. Thank you all very much. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Thank you. The time is 3:18.